Alright, so yeah, this here's been a bit of a deterrent to getting at any other projects. I don't know what your little workshop looks like, but mine is always a complete and utter pigsty. Alright, we're nearly there, we're nearly there. Nearly there. Alright, so this guitar, this little Squier, recently, well, not so recently anymore, so my lovely young daughter treated me to this little scratch. Actually, it's a dent. She crashed into this guitar with something. Yeah, let's just say Daddy wasn't terribly pleased, but he's over it. It's been a few weeks, and now it's time to repair this thing. So let's get it up on the bench and show you how I'm going to fix this. It's a nice stud, isn't it? So let's go ahead and get the strings off it and see how we can fix this. Alright, so I'm going to be cheap because these are fairly new strings, so I'm just going to put a bit of tape on them because we'll reuse them, because these were put on not too long ago. And this guitar doesn't actually get played a lot, so... Okay, so that's good. This is going to be a bit hard to show on camera, but hopefully you can see there that the lacquer... There you go. So hopefully you can see there that that's an actual dent in the lacquer, and hopefully it doesn't go too far into the wood, because what I'm going to do is scrape this back. Not too far, because I don't want to lose that original tint on the neck. That's part of the problem with doing this repair. If you don't have the original tint for the neck, then you'll have one basically bright white shining fret. So the problem I'm faced with here is how much of this lacquer to take off to get rid of that nasty little bit there, because I'm sure I can fill that dent with lacquer and it'll go away. But here's my plan. Here's my plan. My plan is really simple. I've done this before and I know it works. So all I'm going to do is try to take a couple of nice even passes over the surface so that I maintain the radius, because I don't want to mess up the radius on this. So I just want to scrape back a bit of this old lacquer just to get rid of it quickly and to get rid of some of the... So I'm actually going to take a nice set of even passes over the whole fret so that I don't end up building up lacquer in one spot. I'm going to kind of treat it as though the entire fret needs to be fixed up. And you can see, probably not on camera there, but when you're doing this, you can actually see where your blade has taken off material, so that you can try to continue to take nice even passes. Now you shouldn't be digging into your fingerboard. You should be doing this really, really lightly. This should be super, super light touch. You're just trying to bring back a little bit of that top layer of the lacquer in a nice, even way. And what this is going to show you is where you might actually have some low spots, just from years of playing, stuff like that. Alright, so that's enough with that. Alright, so what I'm going to try to do here with a little bit of 400 grit sandpaper, because I don't want to go too aggressive right away, is cut out a nice long piece, fold it over on itself a bunch of times, like that, so that it's folded over. And what I find this does is it's a nice little sand, it's kind of like a nice little built-in sanding pad. Because what you don't want to risk is gouging your finger, the actual shape of your finger into what you're sanding. So if you use this with a nice light touch, the cushion that you're creating by folding the paper over on itself is going to minimize you actually sanding a finger mark into whatever you're trying to sand. So especially for small stuff like this, I find that it makes it nice and easy to just ride on that little cushion. And in this case, I'm going to fold it over one more time because I want it to fit inside the fret. And I want it to take the shape of the radius of the fingerboard. So I'm kind of pressing down on either side and a little bit in the middle here so that I don't mess up that radius. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to minimize the appearance of that ugly little battle scar. Because what I'm hoping is that I can recoat this with a little bit of clear and that hopefully that'll go away. So let's see what we can do here. Not overly worried about the dents. I know I can fill the dents with lacquer. So again, I'm trying to be real careful here not to take all of this lacquer off because like I said, I don't have this tint to replace this, to fix this. So I'm trying to do this as uninvasively as possible so that I'm not left with a really odd looking fret, which would sort of defeat the purpose of doing this. So what I really don't want to do is I don't want to start sanding a little pocket into there. I want to try to avoid that as much as possible, which is why I'm trying to take this lacquer down as evenly as possible, but in this case I have to kind of get in there and make a bit of a... It's kind of leaving me no choice. It's kind of leaving me no choice but to get in here and try and attack this little spot here as gently as I possibly can. And I should say, this neck doesn't look perfect. If we look all around it, it's definitely not in perfect condition. So if this is even mostly minimized, I mean even now, I could probably polish that up. Because what I'm looking to do, I mean ideally I'd like that to go away completely. I'm ready to accept that if this doesn't go away completely, that it's okay. Because it's greatly minimized even now from what it was just a couple minutes ago. Alright, so I'm just going to go over the entire fret here real quick. I'm conscious of the fact that I don't have any of this amber stain, or at least not the right stuff anyway. I'm trying to make the best of a repair with what I've got. And I think this is going to be pretty close. And certainly something anybody could do at home, which is kind of the point that I've been trying to get across in a lot of my videos, is that a lot of the stuff I do and a lot of the decisions that I make are based on simple things that affect all of us, like actually having enough money to go out and buy this, that, or the other. So it's really nice when people make suggestions about products that I could buy to achieve things in a better way. And I'm not trying to be a jerk by saying this, but the reality is, you know, going out to buy a $10 can of this or a $20 can of that, or ordering something online is kind of out of the question for me most of the time. I live on a pretty fixed budget for this kind of stuff. I've said this before, I don't use any family money for this kind of stuff. This is all completely funded entirely by a couple of expensive guitars that I used to have that I've traded and sold and now earning a bit of money on YouTube. Okay, so there we go. So this fret is taped off. Alright, on the fingerboard, I've taped the 2 frets beside it. So what we're going to do here is basically just expose only this fret. Normally I'd be manhandling the guitar so I could see all this stuff, but I'm kind of having to get in the way because I'm filming it. But anyway, there's our fret taped up. Okay, so... Alright, so this is the point at which you begin to question whether I'm lazy or clever. I think both. So it's hella cold outside, and I am not keen to be going out in the garage to do anything. Even though this is only going to take a second, this would just be an utter nightmare to try and get out in the garage with. So what I'm going to do here is quite haphazardly grab something I don't mind getting a little paint on. Okay, so this is starting to seem like a bad idea. That'll work. That'll work. That'll do what I want it to do. Alright, so I'm guessing you can probably guess where I'm going with this. What's he gonna do now? He's gonna put some lacquer on it. Yeah, buddy. So, now I'm doing this inside because I'm basically gonna spray this for like about 5 seconds. This stuff doesn't actually smell too bad. No, ideally you don't want to do this inside. No, ideally you don't want to do this without a mask. I'm taking a calculated risk. Nobody's home. The smell of this actually wears off pretty quickly. And like I said, I got to spray like literally 1 or 2 seconds of this stuff. So normally I wouldn't do this inside. All right, shake-a, shake-a, shake-a. A little test spray. Okay, so there we go. That's it. Sorry to spoil the climax of that, but that was it. That's all I want to do. I don't want to put an F-load of lacquer on there. I'm going to let that dry for a couple hours or even an hour. That'll probably be dry to touch in 30 minutes. So I'll see where my little low spots might be. If they're egregious, I might give that a quick sand. Give it another little quick coat of this automotive poly stuff. Okay, and for those of you who are gonna give me shit about not using nitrocellulose lacquer, this is what I got. This is what I can go and buy at the store, at any Canadian Tire or Walmart or Home Depot. I can't go and buy nitrocellulose lacquer in a can. A lot of what I do is because of the convenience of it and because of my ability to pay for it. And frankly, nothing sucks more than when I was using that nitro stuff on Eric's 72 and running out of it. Now what do? I'm run out of it, so I gotta wait another 3 weeks to finish something I'm in the middle of. I don't roll that way. So for now, this is the best automotive poly I can afford, so it's what I use. Certainly there are better materials. Certainly there, you could get other stuff and do this a million other ways, but for the home DIYer like me, this makes a heap of sense, and this stuff is absolutely incredible. It almost needs no work when you're done with it. You should see the neck that I was working on, that rosewood neck. All that stuff, just like it almost completely flattened. When the neck had, now that the neck's been curing for a few weeks, every time I look at it, it looks flatter than it did when I first sprayed it. Because remember when I first sprayed it, the second fret looked really divotty and like bumpy and oozy. That's all gone. So this lacquer, this automotive like duplicolor stuff is fantastic. Me likey. Okay, let's have a look at that. Alright, I've been trying to avoid shaky cam, but sometimes picking up the camera in my hand is the best way to show you stuff up close. So there you can see, like, you can still kind of see it, but it's nearly gone. It's almost invisible. And if I was filming it from here from before, you could have seen it. But now you can't. So that's what I want. I want that to be mostly invisible. Because as you can see, the rest of the fingerboard is actually in pretty decent shape. But like you can see there in some of the corners, the lacquer is not in such great shape. So it's not perfect. None of this is perfect. This whole lacquer, this whole fingerboard, none of it's perfect. It looks, I mean, for how old it is, for a 1986 guitar, it's pretty mint. I would say this is mint. But that made it not mint. So anyway, hopefully a nice, quick, simple fix that you can try on your own with stuff that you can get anywhere. Anywhere. And I guess that shot didn't really work out for me because... there we go. So a nice, simple fix you can do at home with materials you can get anywhere. This didn't take any time at all. This was like, this took me longer to clean up my desk than it did to effect this repair. Also, just one quick final note. I'm not a moron. I was never going to leave that thing to sit there and dry on its own and let it fall off and get destroyed. It's back on my bench. But what I did want to say is, with lacquer like this, the flatter you can let it dry, the better. It seems to sort of smooth all out and dry just superbly. And I've just been looking at it. I don't know if I can show this. I don't know how easy this is going to be to show because... Alright, anyway. I don't know if you can tell there. This is really hard to film. But even just looking at it now, all the little dents. The dents look like they're gone. That's the nice thing about this lacquer. It seems to fill up little dents and dry super evenly. I love this lacquer. That was not at all my experience with the nitrocellulose stuff that I used. Anyway, yeah, so it dries great, this stuff. I just sprayed another little coat on it before I popped it over here. And I think that's going to be a good repair. So yeah, just one last tip is just to let that stuff dry as flat as you possibly can. And obviously, in a safe place. So I'm going to let that dry for a little while, come have a look at it in a few hours. And I think that's not going to need anything. I think I'm going to leave that just the way it is. I won't have to sand it, or buff it, or shine it, or anything. That stuff comes out hella shiny. I might have to do a little bit of buffing, but I don't think so. Alright, so it's been a couple hours, and a couple of coats, and I just wanted to show that I've disappeared it. It's completely disappeared. So I'm filming under this light condition so that you can see it's completely vanished. So it's completely vanished. Okay, actually I hadn't planned to film this last little bit. I was actually just coming down to grab my camera because the batteries had run out and I was charging it. So I was coming to transfer the video. And then when I got looking at the guitar, I thought, oh wow, it actually came out perfect. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, buddy!